Hey guys, tonight I'm gonna share with you some several short stories I found on the internet, and with nothing more to say, let's get into it. The never-ending campfire story. In our small, desolate town of Pine Grove, my friends and I gathered around a flickering campfire on the outskirts of town, where the shadows of the forest loom menacingly in the darkness. We reveled in the art of storytelling, particularly in sharing creepy tales that sent shivers down our spines. Tonight, though, was different. This time, the stories seemed to come to life. The shadow collector began to shake, his voice quivering, as a tall, enigmatic figure draped in a dark cloak, notorious for abducting people and leaving no trace behind. As we shared chilling accounts of encounters with the shadow collector, we couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The wind picked up, causing the trees to rustle and the shadows to dance, as if in response to our fear. Next, it was my turn. I whispered the gruesome tale of the grinning psychopath, a deformed man with a hideous, permanent smile who would break into people's homes and whisper, "Go to sleep," before brutally murdering them. My friend's eyes darted around the darkness, expecting to see the monster lurking in the shadows. As the night wore on, the stories became darker and more twisted. We spoke of the Pale Hunter, a pale humanoid creature with sharp claws, known to stalk its prey and eviscerate them in their sleep. We whispered of the Shapeshifter, a creature that could mimic the appearance and voice of any living being and use its disguise to lure victims into their doom. With each story, we felt the atmosphere growing heavier and more sinister, as if the creatures we spoke of were closing in on us. We huddled closer together, our breaths shallow and hearts pounding in our chests. The darkness seemed to be alive, the shadows reaching out to us, beckoning us to join the horrors that lurked within. As we exchanged stories, I couldn't help but ask, how long has this been going on? Why can't I remember the last time I was anywhere else? In the midst of our storytelling, said Emma, her voice shaking, I've realized we've all been sharing the same recurring nightmare for weeks. We looked at each other in horror and came to the same chilling conclusion. The stories we shared around the campfire were not mere works of fiction, but real accounts of our own experiences. We were the monsters in the stories. As we looked around the fire, our faces contorted in terror and disbelief. We saw each other transform before our very eyes. The shadow collector, the green psychopath, the pale hunter, the shapeshifter, they were all there, embodied in the people we had trusted and loved. Each of us, upon realizing our monstrous identities, recalled the horrific things we had done. Jake, as the shadow collector, had taken people from their homes, vanishing without a trace. I, as the green psychopath, had invaded the sanctity of people's homes and brutally murdered them in their sleep. Emma, the pale hunter, had stalked unsuspecting victims, leaving them mutilated beyond recognition. And finally, Lily, the shapeshifter, had impersonated loved ones, leading them to their gruesome demise. The truth was more horrifying than any story we could ever have told. We were trapped in a never-ending cycle of nightmares, forced to relive our twisted, monstrous existence every night and share our stories with each other in a desperate, futile attempt to break free from the darkness that consumed us. In the end, the scariest story was the one we lived. Guardians. He awoke to huge insect-like creatures looming over his bed and screaming his lungs out. They hastily left the room and he stayed up all night, shaking and wondering if it had all been a dream. The next morning there was a tap on the door. Gathering his courage, he opened it to see one of them gently place a plate filled with breakfast on the floor, then retreat to a safe distance. Bewildered, he accepted the gift. The creatures chittered excitedly. This happened every day for a few weeks. At first he was worried they were fattening him up, but after a particularly greasy chest left him clutching his chest from heartburn, they were replaced with fresh fruit. As well as cooking, they poured hot steamy baths for him and even tucked him in while he went to bed. It was bizarre. One night he awoke to gunshots and screaming. He raced downstairs to find a decapitated burglar being devoured by the insects. He was sickened, but disposed of the remains as best as he could. He knew they had just been protecting him. One morning the creatures wouldn't let him leave his room. He lay down, confused but trusting as they ushered him back into bed. Whatever their motives, they weren't going to hurt him. Hours later, a burning pain spread throughout his body. It felt like his stomach was filled with razor wire. The insects chittered as he spasmed and moaned. It was only when he felt a terrible squirming feeling beneath his skin that he realized the insect hadn't been protecting him, they had been protecting their young. I hate it when my brother Charlie has to go away. I hate it when my brother Charlie has to go away. My parents constantly try to explain how sick he is, that I am lucky for having a brain where all the chemicals flow properly to their destinations like an undammed river. When I complain about how bored I am without a little brother to play with, they try to make me feel bad by pointing out that his boredom likely far surpasses mine, considering he's confined to a dark room in an institution. I always beg for them to give him one last chance. Of course, they did at first. Charlie has been back home several times, each shorter in duration than the last. Every time without fail, it all starts again. The neighborhood cats with gouged out eyes showing up in his toy chest, my dad's razors found dropped on the baby slide while in the park across the streets, mom's vitamins replaced by bits of dishwasher tablets. My parents are hesitant now, using last chances sparingly. They say his disorder makes him charming, makes it easy for him to fake normalcy and to trick doctors who care for him into thinking he is ready for rehabilitation, that I will just have to put up with my boredom if it means staying safe from him. I hate it when Charlie has to go away. It makes me have to pretend to be good until he's back. Seeing red. Everyone loves the first day of school, right? New year, new classes, new friends. It's a day full of potential and hope, before all the dreary depressions of reality show up to ruin all the fun. I like the first day of school for a different reason though. You see, I have a sort of power. When I look at people, I can sense a sort of aura around them, a colored outline based on how long the person has to live. Most everyone I meet around my age is surrounded by a solid green hue, which means they have plenty of time left. A fair amount of them have a yellow-orange tinge to their auras, which tends to mean a car crash or some other tragedy. Anything that takes people before their time, as they say. The real fun is when the auras venture into the red end of the spectrum though. Every now and then I'll see someone who's basically a walking stoplight. Those are the ones who get murdered or kill themselves. It's such a rush to see them and know their time is numbered. With that in mind, I always get to class very early so I can scout out my classmates' fates. The first kid who walked in was basically radiating red. I chuckled to myself. Too damn bad, bro. But as people kept walking in, they all had the same intense glow. I finally caught a glimpse of my rose-tinted reflection in the window, but I was too stunned to move. Our professor stepped in and locked the door, his aura a sickening shade of green. They got the definition wrong. It has been said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over expecting different results. I understand the sentiment behind the saying, but it's wrong. I entered the building on a bet. I was strapped for cash and didn't buy into the old legends of the hotel to begin with, so $50 was more than enough to get me to do it. It was simple. Just reach the top floor, the 45th floor, shine my flashlight from a window. The hotel was old and broken, including the elevator, so that meant hiking up the stairs. So up the stairs I went. As I reached each platform, I noted the old brass plaques displaying the floor numbers 15, 16, 17 and 18. I felt a little tired as I crept higher, but so far no ghosts, no cannibals, no demons. Piece of cake. I can't tell you how happy I was as I entered the last stretch of numbers. I joyfully counted them aloud each platform. 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 44. I stopped and looked back down the stairs. I must have miscounted, so I continued up. 44. One more flight. 44. And then down 10 flights. 44. 15 flights. 44. And so it's been for as long as I can remember. So really, insanity isn't doing something repeatedly and expecting different results. It's knowing that the results will never change. That each door leads to the same staircase, to the same number. It's realizing you no longer fall asleep. It's not knowing whether you've been running for days or weeks or years. It's when sobbing slowly turns into laughter. This new old house. We bought an old house, my boyfriend and I. He's in charge of the new construction, converting the kitchen into the master bedroom for instance, while I'm on wallpaper removal duty. previous owner prepared every wall and ceiling. Removing is brutal but oddly satisfying. The best feeling is getting a long peel, similar to your skin when you're peeling from a sunburn. I don't know about you, but I kinda make a game of peeling, on the hunt for the longest piece before it rips. Under a corner section of paper in every room, there is a person's name and date. Curiosity got the best of me one night when I googled one of the names and discovered the person was actually a missing person. The missing date matching the date under the wallpaper. The next day I made a list of all the names and dates. Sure enough, each name was for a missing person with dates to match. We notified the police, who naturally sent out the crime scene team. I overheard one text say, "Yep, it's human. Ma'am, where is the material you removed from the walls already? This isn't wallpaper you were removing."